Is there a pet kitty cat in your dollhouse or your room box? Well, today I show you how to make a really cute little kitty condo out of some simple items that you can probably find around the house. So join me for this Trash to Treasure project. Okay, for this little piece of cat furniture, I guess you'd probably call it a cat condo, a cat perch, I don't know what you call it. You'll see what it looks like when it's done, or you probably did from the picture at the front. So I measured the one that our cats have. It's just under 2 feet tall, so I'm going to make this about 2 inches tall. That way it's easy to work with. You can go down a little bit on size. You could go probably 1.5 inches if you wanted to, but for the video I thought I would go ahead and go with the full 2 inches. I think that's what I did when I made these the first time for the swap. I actually came up with this one time. I've made them for swaps several times over the years. The first time I was in a swap on a Yahoo group that got absolutely huge. It was not one of the nice groups where they limit how many people can be in the swap. It was like it got so many people, and I needed to come up with something inexpensive that would ship easily and wouldn't be a pain to make, like it seemed like a zillion. So I drew that line 2 inches from the end, and I'm just cutting, and this is not cutting very nicely for me. Let's see if I can cut it. There, now it'll cut better. Sometimes you have to do that. You have to. And these are not great scissors, and I've kind of abused these scissors. These were Dollar Tree scissors, and I've used them on things that they shouldn't be used on. Okay, and this doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to cover this all up. Alright, so we've got a piece that's 2 inches tall. And however big, a toilet paper tube's about 1.5 inches in diameter. Now we need a 1 inch or so hole punch. Now if you're going to make yours 1.5 inches, you might look for a 3/4 inch hole punch. I'm going to slide this in here, and I'm going to look. If you look inside the tube, you can see where your hole is placed. I'm going to put it about there. It doesn't have to be centered, and this is kind of hard because I might have to go off camera to do this part. There we go. It's kind of hard to get because you don't want to smush the tube any more than it already is. It already is kind of smashed already anyway, but trying to preserve its shape. Now I have some upholstery velvet from Real Size, from the Real Size fabric store. This is what I use for carpeting in doll houses. Hopefully by now the little bonus video I put up that I filmed the other day about carpeting is up. At this point I haven't loaded it. I don't know when I'm going to schedule it, but by now it should be up. So be sure and look at that. I talk about why I use this for carpeting. Now we need some glue. And I've cut this strip so it just goes over the edges. I want it to line up on one end on the bottom, and the top I want it to fold over. I'm going to start my glue, and I'm just using tacky glue. This fabric is heavy enough that you can get by using tacky glue. It won't soak through. You don't have to be particularly neat. After all, this is a Trash to Treasure project. It's supposed to be fun. Alright, now, what am I doing? I'll start from this end. This is going to work better. Alright, so I'm going to put the glue on. I'm going to roll this along, making sure I stay even there. And I've got glue all over my hands now. And then this glue needs to dry before we can go on, because we have to trim some of the fabric. And it's okay if it sticks past just a tiny bit at the bottom. That's okay. We're not done with this yet. I'm going to let this overlap, maybe a 1/4 of an inch or so. Let's see if I have enough fabric here. I don't think I've got enough on that piece to do. That was more than a 1/4 inch. Doesn't matter. Now don't get the glue on the right side of your fabric where it's going to show, because the glue will make a mark. All right, now the other part of our project, as soon as I figure out, are these little wooden discs. You need 2 of these that are 1.5 inches in diameter. You know these. I use these all the time. You guys have seen these a lot of times. And we're going to need a little more fabric, because that little piece I cut off is not quite enough. We're going to glue the upholstery fabric to one side of each of these discs. Glue this one in the corner. And then this, like I said, the glue needs to dry, because we are going to, the next step, we need to have this all glue dried and glued and set up. So I'll let my glue dry, and then I'll be back. Now we need to fold and glue all our edges down. And I am going to very carefully cut. I don't want to have this show, but I don't want to have quite that much bulk, so I'm going to cut the tip of that off. Well, it would help if I cut it all the way to the edge. Okay, now again with our tacky glue, we are going to make this a nice finished edge. And you can go ahead and put the glue right on the back of the fabric is fine. And I'm being pretty generous, because it really won't bleed through much. Get a toothpick and kind of spread it. Hopefully you can see. I think we can. I think we can both see. I kind of made marks on my work tile with some painter's tape to show me where the camera had a good view and where it didn't. So hopefully I'll stay inside of those lines today. Now we're going to put this down. And I like to, first we need to put a little bit of glue right there, and I really don't want to get glue on the outside. Now, I'm going to put a couple of clothespins, not very many, because they will make little divots in our carpet sometimes. But what we need to do is get that to really glue down. In the meantime, we might as well just trim these down. Don't have to be super careful, just don't cut it smaller than the wooden disc. There. And these are pretty much our last step to put in. Okay, so now this glue needs to dry, and then I'll be back. This glue is dry, you take these clips off, and you'll notice there's little dents. Not too bad today, sometimes more than others. Now is probably the only tricky part, and it's not very tricky. This hole we punched. I need a small pair of scissors. I couldn't find my good little scissors, so. And I like to watch from the inside, because you want to cut little slits. What we need to do is we need to make this so we can fold that in and glue it to the inside. And check to make sure. Yeah, it's folding nicely. So this one, we need to be careful on. And I use a couple of different things to clip. I'm going to start down here. I'm going to put some glue. Come on. And you could use any white glue. You could use regular. This would probably even work with Elmer's glue. You don't have to have special glue for this one. Now, I am going to use, not that pair of tweezers. There. Use some tweezers. You can use tweezers, you could use a toothpick, whatever. I've got that up there. Kind of hold on to it for a minute. And it's not going to stay on its own. We are going to clamp it here in just a second. But I like to put it up there, get them squished together, let them come apart, and then put them back again. And another quick and handy little clamp when you need something to go in a small spot are these little hair clips, these little hair barrettes, little snap clips. I used to use these in my daughter's hair when she was little. In fact, I used to use these in my hair when I was in high school. I remember using these. So they are really handy. Now this came unglued. Pull that up. You can use those because they've got a nice narrow clip, nice narrow spot there to glue, to hold onto the fabric with in the glue. And you can clamp from either direction. And we may not get, I don't usually glue this all the way around the opening at once. I've tried before, and a lot of times when I do that, I end up getting a mess. I end up getting glue on the fabric on the outside like I just did. Use your fingernail, kind of wipe that off. And there, we're just going to do those three, and when these are dry, I'll come back, I'll do the others, and then we can move on. This glue is set up enough that I think I can take my clips off. And now we're going to do the same thing with the top half here. It's going to be a little harder for you guys to see. I should have put the lid on my glue. Okay. The lid on this time. Alright. For some reason I always start in the middle. Not sure it's necessary, but it just seems better when you do. Come on. Okay, that one's not trimmed. Ah, wet wipe. That one is not trimmed quite all the way. Now, that's better. See if these are long enough. They are. I'm getting some glue on the outside, so I'll have to scrape that off when it gets dry. Just seems like so many of us have, for some reason, so many people that do miniatures have cats, and I always put cats in my dollhouses. So there. So now this glue needs to set up, and then we can use these, and they will help make this more stable and get it back to shape. So when the glue dries, I'll be back. Alright, so now that this glue is set up, we can go on to the next step. You don't have to use your fingernail or a pick or a toothpick or something. Kind of raise the nap back up on your fabric. Now, depending on the brand of toilet paper you use, how big the tube is. Some of the little tubes are a little bit bigger than others. This one I need to make a little bit of a filler, and that's simple. Just cut a skinny strip of your upholstery fabric. Because they don't make these exactly the right size. Let's get our glue until it's right in front of me. So I'm going to put glue all the way around. And then we're going to wrap just this little skinny strip. Don't let it hang above the top, but it can hang below the bottom of it. That's fine. And this is just to make it be a little bit thicker, a little bit bigger around. Sometimes I get these and these little rounds fit perfect, and sometimes I need to fill in a couple of rounds of fabric. So we'll see after the glue dries how well this is going to do. But this also makes it a little bit easier to glue in. Now for the bottom, you've got an option. I'm using a wooden disc. I'm using a wooden disc that's the same size about as my piece. You can do that, or you can cut this out of cardboard or whatever. Just make a round the same size as that. And we're going to glue this on here. We're not going to glue the base onto the post yet though, because this raises the bottom up too. It makes it a little bit easier if you're going to put like a little kitty in there. You'll be able to see it better. And you could cover this if you want, or paint it. You could paint it the color of your carpeting or whatever. It's up to you. I'm just going to leave it this way. So this needs to dry, and this needs to dry, and then I'll be back again. Alright, so this glue is set up now, and now we've got a nice tight fit. And you may not have to do that on yours. And kind of get it in here where you want it. And you're going to want to make sure, I got it pushed down too far. Don't push it down too far. Get it in there so that it's nice and straight. And then from the bottom, and I kind of think you're not going to be able to see this on camera, I don't know. Not sure I'm going to be able to see it. I'm going to run glue. As soon as I get my glue unplugged. Okay. Come on. Come on, glue. Come on. My glue is getting so that's almost empty again. And it doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to use a toothpick. Alright. Get a toothpick and kind of spread that around where the bottom of that meets. I've tried putting glue on from the top or putting glue on the outside of that disc and then sliding it in, and it's really hard to get it in without getting glue all over up here. Now, that's tight enough it'll hold. So now what we need to do is put glue on this. And remember, if you want this disc to not show as much, you could use, you could paint it before you glue it together, or use a thin piece of cardboard. I chose to use the wooden disc that was about the size of the piece, just because it's easier. And kind of push down And make sure it's centered. And all we have to do is let the glue dry, and we've got a little kitty condo for the cats in the dollhouse. So when the glue dries, I'll be back. Well, our glue is pretty much dry, and this is how the completed little cat condo looks. I think they turned out really cute. You can change the color, of course, depending on what color fabric you use. I hope you enjoyed this Trash to Treasure project. Be sure and check the blog post and Facebook, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.